Hey, welcome back to the front. As we're getting into things here, one thing you might be noticing is your Gmail inbox is maybe a little more complex than it used to be as you're getting notifications from all these different Google Classrooms and whatnot. For those of you that are new to Gmail, or maybe you're just not haven't made use of all the features, I want to show you a couple things to help tame the clutter in an automated fashion so that Gmail's doing the work for you. The very first thing is Gmail doesn't really have folders, but what they call labels. And so you can apply multiple labels to email in order to kind of categorize it in ways that make sense to you. So the first thing what I've got here is a bunch of kind of fake emails that I just sent myself, pretending to be from several different teachers and the principal's office and whatnot. And if you want to have Gmail automatically sort these, you do that using labels and filters. So first things first, we're going to set up our labels. And there's a couple ways to do this. The easiest way I find is just highlight one of your emails by checking the checkbox, and then the label icon appears here. And clicking that will show you the labels that are available, but you can also manage and create labels here. So what we'll do is we'll start by creating some new labels. So you can just go ahead and enter a name. I like to nest my labels to create some additional logic behind them. So we'll start with, we'll just give it a school name, create that label. Now we're going to create another label. We'll start by trying to categorize the homeroom email. So we'll create one for the homeroom, and we're going to nest that underneath middle school. So then when you take a look here, you can see that homeroom has been nested under middle school. We'll just go ahead and set up a few more here. So math class, we'll nest that under middle school. What else? Create new PTA. Okay, that gives us a good start. So now let's say, okay, we've got a jumble here. We don't really know what's what. Now you can go through and you can manually assign labels if you like. So like here, oh, this has been misassigned. We'll fix that. So, a letter from the principal's office, you might just assign that just to the top level middle school folder or label. Whereas like your homeroom, you have a specific label for that. Now you can go ahead and manually do that, or if you want to make Google do the work, we can use filters to automatically assign labels as email comes in. So for these homeroom messages, what I did, so the key is to try and find something that you can filter against within the email. So for a lot of these, it's probably going to be who sent them. In my case, since I had to send all the emails to myself, what we're going to do is we're going to use text within the subject line. And there's shortcut codes that you can use to do this all automatically, but we're going to make use of Google's input boxes here to make things a little easier. So if we just type in homeroom into the subject line and just click search, we can see, well, what's that going to return? Click search and we say, okay, here's our homeroom messages. They all reside in our inbox currently. So if you're satisfied with that, what you can do is then click this down arrow again, and then see next to the search, there's an option to create filter. So we're going to do that. And then there's a lot of options as to what you can do with these messages. So the first thing I like to do is apply a label just automatically. And we'll say, so for homeroom, we're going to have those filter into the homeroom label right off the bat. And we can go ahead and create the filter. So that'll create it just for the message that's selected. If you want to apply it to all the messages, all the preview messages, you want to make sure that you click this box here. Now we can click Create Filter, but maybe we should just talk about some of these other options here that might be useful. Now, if you're getting a lot of messages that you want to make sure that the message is in your inbox for reference, but you don't necessarily want to read every single one, go ahead and mark them as, you can click Mark as Read. That'll, it'll unbold the message. That way you don't have numbers over here piling up. If you're like me, that kind of stresses me out when I see lots of unread messages. So maybe you want to mark as read. Or maybe it's important. Maybe any of these messages are something you definitely want to see, so maybe you star it instead. There's all kinds of options here. Forwarding it to another address, that's a little more advanced, but if you have someone else that you want to give visibility to, you can do that. Just straight deleting the messages, like if you're getting messages that you don't need to keep long term, maybe have them go straight to trash. You can still label them and delete them, and then they'll stay in your trash for, I think it's 14 days or something like that. So then you've got, don't mark it as spam, definitely mark it as important, never mark as important, change the category. These are your tabs across the top. If you want to make sure it drops into a particular tab, you can do that. So there's lots of options. So here we're just gonna have these messages go to homeroom. We'll create the filter, and then if we head back to our inbox, we can see, look, those have been tagged with, or I'm sorry, those have been labeled as homeroom messages. And so then we can just go ahead and then another way of creating the filters is maybe you're inside, like here we'll go to a math assignment email. And I'm like, yeah, I really want to label these math assignments or these math class emails. So from within an email that you're viewing, you click over here on the triple dots. And you can see filter messages like this. So clicking that. Now it from the start just thinks, okay, we're going to use the from whoever sent the email. That's usually a pretty safe bet. In our case, we're not going to use that. We're going to filter by the subject as well. So let's call that math class, create the filter. We're going to label it and math class. We'll apply it to those messages. Okay, now back to the inbox. And we've got, maybe the principal's office. Oops. We'll just have that go to the main school, create that filter. Okay, now inbox, PTA. So now with those, maybe we'll definitely have those go to PTA, but maybe we'll have those mark as red so that the numbers aren't piling up, just to show that. So we'll create that filter. So we've already read it, so that went away. So now looking at your inbox, you're getting a little more organization in terms of, things are getting automatically labeled here. So now if we just go ahead and mark these all as red, we'll get an idea of what happens when a new message comes in. So, if a new message comes in from the math class, so in our filters, all of our math class messages come in with this prefix on it. And so when this message comes into us, you'll see that it automatically gets labeled here because of the prefix that's on there. So now these messages, we don't have them being marked as read automatically. So that's why it still appears in your inbox. So one thing I'm noticing about my PTA filter is that not only would I like it to mark it as red, but I'd like it to just not be in my primary view at all. Like I don't want to delete it. I still want to have it appear in this folder, but I don't want it here in my inbox. And so here I'll show you how to edit a filter so that to fix that or to tweak those filter rules so that things are working the way that I want. So we'll go to click the gear, the settings icon, click settings, and then what you'll do is you'll click filters and blocked addresses here. So we'll see all our filters appear. So here we know the PTA filter, the subject is it's picking up the emails the way we want. But then not only do I want to mark it as read, I also want to skip the inbox or archive it. And that's so it's an alternative to deleting messages. It's fine to delete a message, but it's going to sit in your trash for a couple of weeks, and then Gmail's going to get rid of it. Now, if you archive it, what it does is, and I'll go ahead and update our filter here, but what it does is it enters your inbox, it'll get tagged, it'll be unbolded because it's been marked as read, and then it's basically going to perform this action. Rather than deleting it, it archives it. And that's something that if you're not familiar with the archive function, definitely get familiar with that because you've got there's a lot of storage space on Gmail. Uh, so there's not necessarily a need to delete things right away, and it's sometimes better to be over-informed than under-informed and to have that record. So if we want incoming PTA messages to get archived automatically. So here we'll send another test. So this is coming from the PTA, another message. So now when this arrives, we'll see it, it gets tagged. So there it came in, it was marked as read. Oh, and then it went away. And so, but it's not deleted. When we go to our PTA thread here, you can see, the messages are accumulating. So you've got that history. So hopefully that helps you at least generate some ideas on how you might best wrangle your inbox. I like to create labels for each of my child's teachers. And as things come in, we're doing this where we're auto-labeling so that we keep that record of that communication. Hopefully some of that is something that helps you kind of wrangle your inbox and gives you a little more sanity, a little less anxiety as we're going forward here. So hopefully it was useful. Definitely hit me up in the comments or on our Twitter account if you have any further questions you want us to look into, and we'll be back soon. Take care.